Greetings, everybody. I was just thinking to speak a little bit about what is great faith and what is small faith. Many times we get confused about what faith actually is, and we get to a place where we think that faith is something that we need to do in order to win the favor of God. Now, faith is not something that we need to do in order to get God's favor or to persuade God to do anything for us. And with a mindset that faith is something that we need to do in order to persuade God, we're going to have a complete misunderstanding about what faith actually is. There's two instances in the Bible where the Bible talks about great faith, and that is both of the times it was connected to non-Jews or Gentiles. The one was the Greek or the Syrophoenician woman that Jesus called a dog, and she asked Jesus to heal her daughter, and Jesus didn't even answer her. And then after a while begging the Lord, basically the disciples decided to ask Jesus if they must just send her away and chase her away. And Jesus said to her, "It is not right to take the food that belongs to the children, or the bread belongs to children, and give it to the dogs." So what he was actually saying to her was that based on the Jewish system of that time, that she was a dog, that she was disqualified by her flesh and by the law system to partake of the blessings that there is. And when she heard that, the disqualification of the law it wasn't enough to disqualify her in her heart, because she knew that Jesus Christ was greater than the disqualification of the law. And what she said was that it was that even the dogs eat the crumbs that falls from the master's table. And what that actually means is that God can even provide for those who don't qualify. Even if I'm a dog, even if I am not seen by the law as a child or as any of those things, the greatest disqualification in the presence of all disqualification, that Jesus Christ can even provide for her. And Jesus said, "Woman, great is your faith." And great faith was connected directly to believing that even in the presence of disqualification of the law, that Jesus Christ was greater than any disqualification. That is what it was all about. And Jesus said, "Great is your faith." The very same thing happened to the Roman centurion when he went and said that his servant was got hurt or injured, was very ill, and Jesus says, "I'll come and heal him." And then Jesus said, "Listen, man, Jesus said, "I'll come and heal him." And then he said, "Listen, according to the law, I'm not worthy that you come under my roof, but if you just speak the word, then my servant will be healed, because I know that you are of greater authority than this sickness or this disease, and that you are of greater authority than any disqualification." And what it was actually saying was, let us not get into trouble, in you having dealings with me in the physical here because of this law system. You are greater than the system. You don't even have to come to my place. You are greater than my disqualification according to the flesh. You are greater than the disqualification that I am under by the law. So what he was saying there is that the very same thing that the Greek woman said. He said, "Listen, even if I'm disqualified by the law, you are greater than my disqualification." And Jesus said, "Such great faith I have not even found in all of Israel." Because the Israelites were finding their identity in the flesh, in the fact that they had the law and that they could obey the law. But the Gentiles saw that they could not obey the law, but in these two cases they believed that Jesus was greater than their disqualification, and that was called great faith. So I want to tell you, great faith is not defined in how hard you concentrate, but in seeing Jesus as greater than your sin, in seeing Jesus as greater than the disqualification that there is by under the law. So Jesus is greater than any disqualification that there can be in your life. You might think you have not prayed enough. You might think that you have not lived holy enough. You might think that you haven't done good enough. I want to tell you, don't go in front of the Lord with any good you've done or any bad you've done. Just go in front of God and know that Jesus Christ is greater than any disqualification or any system that can ever disqualify you. Maybe you feel disqualified by your parents, by your friends, by the car you drive, the clothes you wear, by your social stand. I want to tell you that Christ is greater than that disqualification. And when you are thinking of acceptance before God, if you are thinking of receiving something from the Lord, let your faith be great in this, knowing that His word supersedes your disqualification. He's not saying that you need to qualify by anything you do. Even if you, by the law, are found guilty, you still qualify. So I want to tell you, you might think that you don't qualify. I want to tell you, you do qualify. Why? Because of the greatness of the authority of God's word towards us. And I want to end with this. What is God's word towards us? This is God's word towards us. That even a man that had all the sin of all the world on him and all death on him, that all the sin of all the world and all death on one man couldn't supersede the promise that God made that man that carried all sin, that He would raise him from the dead. So Jesus Christ simply relied upon the Father in the presence of all disqualification, because He was carrying the sin of the world. He became sin. And when that took place, He simply relied upon the Father. He died, and on the third day, the Father rose Him up as the Father promised. So the promise of the Father was greater than all the sin that was upon Jesus. The promise of the Father was greater than all the sin Jesus was. So I want to tell you, God's promise to life and immortality towards you, God's promise as pertaining to Him promising you the fruit of the Spirit and His life inside you, is greater than any disqualification. And as you believe, simply believe that you qualify in the presence of disqualification. You've got great faith. And I trust that blesses you. Thank you so much for all of you that watched this, and just share this with as many friends as what you can, because people simply don't know this truth. And just know you are awesome, you are loved by God, and you are cared for. God bless, guys.